Hello. So this is actually a video that I didn't even plan on making. I guess in a way, based on the general subject matter, I had the idea to make a video like this a while ago. But nothing really came of it. You know, I saw a ton of other people making videos specifically about, I saw the TV Glow. And I kind of thought that a lot of those videos already kind of explained and went over what I was thinking after watching that movie. I personally didn't think that it was going to get as much reception as it did, considering that upon, being a Jane Schoenbrun fan from like from World's Fair days, I was not really expecting that, but since it was an A24 film, I guess it made more sense to me. It doesn't matter. None of that matters, okay? Today I want to talk. I was talking to my parents about this downstairs, and I was like, damn, I should just film a video about this, because it's really interesting to me. I want to talk about the through line that we see in a lot of, in Jane Schoenbrun's work in I Saw the TV Glow and We're All Going to the World's Fair, focusing more on We're All Going to the World's Fair, because I feel like I haven't seen anyone really talk about that movie, which shocks me considering that I think it's brilliant. I do not plan on editing this video unless something happens, so apologies if it's a little kind of all over the place. But, okay. So, we need to talk about We're All Going to the World's Fair first. If you haven't seen this film, which is kind of maybe likely, I don't know who's gonna see this, man. We're all going to the World's Fair is about this girl named Casey who, she gets into this challenge on YouTube, where it's like, it ends up being like a multiplayer role-playing game, and she gets so immersed in it, and it's a horror game, and it's about making the most absurd, strange videos and all these stuff, and creating this in-depth lore, and it's about, there's all this lore and stuff. I should have said this before, I might get some things wrong, considering that I haven't seen this film in a while, but it was just on my mind, and I'm thinking about it, and I want to talk about it. So I'm sorry if if I'm a little all over the place, right? Basically she just ends up getting immersed in this, and then she realizes that it's not real, and she starts exhibiting these changes ever since she does this ritual. It has a lot to do with self-identity. That's what the majority of this movie is about. Most people, after seeing this movie, because it has this sense of, oh, is this real? Were these things that were actually happening to her after she did this initiation process? Are these things that were actually happening to her in real life? Or was it all just in her head, sort of thing? Which is kind of something similar that we see in I Saw the TV Glow. With the whole idea of, the pink opaque, and were they actually, in metaphor aside, and allegory aside, all of this, were they actually trapped, in the I can only think of the Great Dark and the fiction as these words, but I don't think that's what it's called. The Great Dark is from Ethel Cain's YouTube video, and the fiction is from Coheed and Cambria lore. Sorry, I apologize. They're stuck in the real world, right? Instead of being in the pink opaque, which is where they're supposed to be. Is that real? Are they actually buried? Did they actually, is Maddie telling the truth, basically, right? Or I guess Tara. I don't really, again, haven't seen TV Glow in a while, so I'm a little fuzzy. Was Maddie telling the truth about all of this? Did this all actually happen? What is the whole concept of what is reality, and is this real or is this fiction, is this real or is this all just in your mind? Which, you could definitely argue still makes it real, even if it is all just in your mind. But you know what I'm on about, right? And this is a very interesting thing, but with TV Glow, people didn't really get as focused on is this real or is this, their imaginations. They focused on the allegory of it and the symbolism, the metaphor, and what this actually means on a fundamental level of transgender, of being trans and your identity and what that does to you and what refusing parts of yourself, what that does to you over long time, and how it will kill you if you don't, if you do not, if you don't, to refuse yourself, the ability to be truly what you are, to refuse yourself the, the authenticity, as cheesy as that sounds, of just truly being who you are supposed to be, regardless of the fear, regardless of the hate, regardless of anything. What that will do to you if you refuse these parts of yourselves that are real, it is damaging. It is. And that goes for everyone, even if you're cisgender, But what is very interesting... Oh my god, I thought it said that I wasn't recording. But what's interesting then is there was a similar theme sort of thing, or with the similar the idea of what the reality part is, blurred, and what does this mean? There's something similar of that within World's Fair. However, I didn't see anyone looking past really what the allegory of, the game and all of this and what happens to Casey and her mind and all of this stuff. What that means on a fundamental level in terms of the story. I think because World's Fair and the way World's Fair talked about gender and transness was a very different way than TV Glow did. TV Glow, in my opinion, was way, way more overt, even though there's still a lot of people who... It gets critiqued for being overt, kind of, but also at the same time it was subtle, especially to a cisgender audience, which was the majority of the people, these are A24. People who watch this are a lot of A24 fans, there are people who just watch any A24 movie. Because it was that, it got a lot more visibility, so a lot more cis people saw it as well as trans people, right? Now, I feel like it was kind of a mixed bag with World's Fair. World's Fair, I feel like, a lot of people did see it and it got more so critiqued for not being truly a horror film, even though I didn't think that that's what it was supposed to be, and you could argue that it is still a horror film, considering what happens, when you are changing and shifting. But people didn't look past the allegory there, and I honestly I'm not here today to talk about the allegory within World's Fair with gender and transness and all of that in the same way that TV Glow has. I'm not really here to talk about that because I truthfully haven't rewatched it in a very long time, so I don't think I can, talk about that in the same way with full understanding, of it. But something that always stuck with me, and this is what made me think about making this video at all, was the fact that when talking in an interview about World's Fair, Jane Schoenbrun said something along the lines of, and there's a line that's almost word for word like this in TV Glow, right? And it's how it feels, feeling as though you are watching yourself from across the room on a television screen, right? The shimmering screen, which is also a concept that, you see in Jane's work, both visually, like aesthetically, within color and lights, but also on a more fundamental level with, and aesthetically with all of the technology and the retro aspects of it, nostalgia, internet culture and stuff like that, which is more so in World's Fair. But regardless, you see the shimmering screen, and Tara says something similar to that in TV Glow, right? She said something along the lines of like, watching yourself from across across the room on a TV, and it gets further and further and further when you're watching. And we see this visual as well. We see Owen watching themselves on the TV, watching themselves in the snow globe, watching the TV, seeing themselves go into the TV, like trying to go through it, right? There's this whole, what does that mean, what does that mean, this whole idea of watching yourself from across the room on a television screen? There's layers to this, right? And maybe I'm sure there'll be someone, maybe this is a pointless video because maybe this is exceptionally obvious to point out, but the whole idea with the shimmering screen, watching yourself from across the room, and we even see Casey do this. We see Casey do this in World's Fair. We, the audience, see her on her laptop screen an exceptional amount. Like, we see, there's a shot, there are multiple shots like this of her sleeping, or pretending to sleep or whatever, sleepwalking, doing weird stuff, in her sleep. And the camera is set up so that we are seeing her through her laptop on photo booth, we're seeing her through the screen. And what all this is about is the dissociation that comes with, for a lot of people, I don't want to say all, everyone's different, but the dissociation and disillusionment that comes with gender dysphoria, within being transgender. And it was just, I don't know, that always just stuck with me, watching yourself from across the room on a TV screen. Because that is how it feels sometimes, isn't it, Maybe if you don't have dysphoria, you don't know what that's like, But I feel like that's relatable on other levels, too, It's this, if you've ever struggled with how you feel about yourself, or dissociation, or your identity in any capacity at all, even if you're cisgender, even if, whatever, right? It's this disillusionment with yourself in some way, one way or the other, right? And it's very striking. And we also see this within Casey, and she has this whole thing where she's like, the whole concept of the game, right, was you're transforming, you're becoming something, right? There are people who like said they grew wings, or like became clowns and stuff. Is the whole like killer clown of 2017 sort of thing. It was harkened there from what I recall. I thought that was a fun thing. But just this idea, man, just stuck with me, really resonated with that disillusionment, that dissonance, and that dissociation, which we see in Casey, and we see it in Owen. We see it in these characters which, I'm not really able to fully tell you what, because again, I haven't seen it in a while, what Casey's whole gender I don't even think that it's meant to be like that in a narrative way that it is with Owen in TV Glow, because in TV Glow, it's a very clear, like, this is a trans character, I think with Casey, it's less of that, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. It's more so the story, right? And it focuses more, I think TV Glow focuses more on what happens if you reject yourself and if you suppress these parts of yourself, what happens there, and the idea that there is still time. That's the whole thing. The whole thing of the movie. You see people say it. You see people post the screenshot of the shot with it's a street going on, and it says there is still time in chalk on the ground. Beautiful. Incredible, right? And you see this concept that's really what is at the heart there. There is still time, because I think there's even still time for Owen after we see the film end. There's always still time left, so long as you are alive, right? There's always still time to be who you are supposed to be, right? And what we see with Casey in World's Fair is, from what I recall, it's very, I don't know, I feel like World's Fair focuses a lot more on that, like, loneliness. You feel it palpably throughout the film. There are only, outside of people that we see on her laptop, in terms of, like, people she's watching on YouTube, right? There are 2 people in that whole movie that we interact with. Not even. It's mainly just one. It's kind of a voyeuristic film in that. Oh, yeah, there are 2 people, right? There's Casey, her dad, but we don't ever see him. We just hear his voice, right? And then JLB, I think his name is. Either way, the guy that she trades, like, videos with, and they talk about that, and that's a whole other aspect, right? I'm more so focusing on, Casey herself, and not even Casey herself, just the whole idea, right? It's this dissociation within yourself, right? And you see that as she starts to get more obsessed and more engrossed with this challenge, right? And this, which, there are tons of things you could say about it, but to me, that's like, I don't know, it was just, I can't even fully describe it. There's also a lot of depression within that, and that's a main thing that is showcased. I think if TV Glow is about the hope for more time to come, and the fear and the horror of what happens if you don't do these things for yourself, I think World's Fair is more of the feeling of sheer depression, and I'm saying dissociation so much in this video, I feel like, but that loneliness and that complete isolation, it feels so desolate, right? I mean, there are full-on shots of her, with her video camera, and we're seeing it from her point of view, from her video camera, just walking, and it's just, the movie, one of the opening shots of the movie with the title screen, I'm pretty sure, is just shots of a handheld video cam shot of just a highway. We see videos of her, walking through the cemetery, we see her alone the most within the entire film. She is alone by herself the most in these, like, almost liminal, I don't want to say liminal, but I don't know. It's very interesting to me. This is less of, like, you've probably already figured this out, but this is less of a thesis and more of, I don't know, musing, discussion, thinking and talking about this movie and stuff. But I don't know, I remember watching that, it just really got to me. It just really resonated. There's something in there. It's just like, whoa. And no one even took that film as being about gender or anything. But it's all there, right? All those same themes that are in TV Glow are all in World's Fair. Just differently, right? It's just different. But we even have the astrology and, like, the metaphysics aspect of it, right? And because in World's Fair, Casey is doing tarot. And in TV Glow, there's a scene when they're in, like, the bubble or whatever, and it has all the constellations swirling around them and from the projector as Tara tells, I guess, Isabel or Owen about, how she got here and what he needs to do, what they need to do in order to, like, basically, just that whole scene, if you know it, I don't know why I'm explaining this so damn long, but, you see that aspect as well, which is very interesting. Like, there are things that tie these two films together on a base level thematic sense that Jane Schoenbrun just instills in all of their movies so far. I haven't watched any of their short films from before World's Fair, which is on me, I guess. But it just, I don't know. There's something there, man. There's also, I think, I don't know, it's interesting that, these films are very connected within their themes, within, probably intentionally, but also maybe not, I don't know. It's not what it's about, really, right? I don't know, just these two films, it really just, there's so much there. And I really wish that people, understood World's Fair more and, like, took it for what it is more instead of, the whole, and I think a lot of people did. A lot of people took it as surface level. It's just that the conversation around gender was a lot more veiled by the, motifs that Schoenbrun uses the most. With the technology and the internet and the freaking the shimmering screen, right? I don't know. There's something there for sure. And I don't know. It's such a lonely film, and there's so much dissociation that it's just impossible for me to not draw that conclusion, And then hearing them talk about it, hearing them talk about watching yourself from across the room on a television screen and hearing them talk about dysphoria like that. And then years later, only a few years later, then I go to the cinema and I watch TV Glow and almost that exact same line is said. And I'm like, wow. Just, I don't know, it stuck with me, man. I think also the absurdism. I don't know if that's the right word, but the whole bending of reality, right? And these really strange things that you see in both of these films, You see it in, like, the weird, in TV Glow, you see it within, like, the, the ice cream man and Marco and Polo, the man in the moon, and all these really weird visuals. And you see similar things like that in World's Fair as well, where it's like, the way she talks, the way she starts behaving, this, like, strange, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm getting at here, but it's very interesting to me, and I think I don't know, maybe I should have waited to make this video until after I'd rewatched both films, but I'm not really a video essay kind of guy, if I'm being honest. I just like having conversations about films and about stuff. I don't like having a thesis. I like just talking. I don't know. Really, really brilliant films. I feel like I don't have anything else to say. I feel like I've exhausted myself by just yammering on. Yeah, I don't know. If you take anything away from this, watch We're All Going to the World's Fair because it's exceptionally underrated. Also watch I Saw the TV Glow if you haven't already, but I'm assuming that you have if you were watching this. I don't know. We're All Going to the World's Fair is brilliant, and I wish more people talked about it. Maybe more people have. I just don't go online as much as I used to, I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just keep repeating myself, which is why I'm like thinking to end this video now. Hope you guys enjoyed my Twilight shirt and Deadpool pants combination. Yeah, I'm in my pajamas. What of it? Let's go. I don't know. I know I keep to patrons of the channel, regulars of the channel, I know I keep saying that I'm gonna make videos and then I don't do it. Sorry. I haven't recorded any songs also to post, but hopefully I will soon. I don't know. I've been busy with school, so sorry. But, you know, halfway through the semester, basically. So look forward to the end of the school year art video and, you know, something like that. I don't know. All my information's down below if you care about that. I got a live journal, you know, whatever. I got a freaking Instagram, 2 of them. You can follow that if you want. Oh, dust particle. But yeah, the shimmering screen. How alluring. It's very, very awesome to me. Please go watch these movies. I swear to God, they're so good. Please go watch these movies. There's also something to be said about, real quick before I go, in World's Fair, there's something to be said about the whole idea of, like, and I have a list on Letterboxd for this, which is kind of different, you know, but it's called To Become Inhuman, right? And it's this whole idea of, like, it's kind of it's self-explanatory. It's like this whole idea of, like, changing into something else, to become inhuman, not in a literal way always, because, like, we're all going to the World's Fair. It's not a literal change that happens. She's still the same. You know, it's not like a lycanthropy situation, right? I think I also have Princess Mononoke in there because that's a similar sort of thing. Very, very good film as well. I might talk about that some other time. I don't know. If you guys like me talking about movies, I'll do it. Yeah, I'm gonna be done now, though. Bye.